So, good afternoon, good evening, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for our Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead's Libraries Women's Prize for Fiction online event. So we have decided to champion the 6 shortlisted books. We've spoken to 6 amazing ladies who are local to the area, linked with various projects in the area, and with the 6 shortlisted books to see which we think would be our favourite for our winner as well. So today we are going to be looking at Hilary Mantel's The Mirror and the Light. Now I've got it here on my ebook, and I'm sure we'll see the size of the tome shortly when we talk about it, because it is quite an epic book to read as well. And we're going to be speaking to the fantastic Chantal Farquhar from the Little Bookshop in Cookham. So hello Chantal, how are you?
Hello Michelle, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for undertaking what is, I know, quite an epic read, because I've read all 3 books in the trilogy myself, so I know it's quite a commitment to read this, but absolutely brilliant. So let's just start straight off with a little bit about you, Chantal. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your bookshop as well?
Yeah, I run the Little Bookshop in Cookham. It's on the High Street. If you haven't been, you must come. It's absolutely gorgeous. We've got quite an eclectic mix of old and new books. We've got lots of classics. I try to get as many good new titles that are coming in as possible. And we order books for our customers, and we try to have a very good response for that and turn things around very quickly and offer a really good service. We really want to spread a love of books with children in particular. So we do lots of things with local schools. We usually have lots of events on at the shop. In Book Week, we had about 250 children in our tiny little shop in one week. We had lots of writers coming in doing workshops and lots of good fun things like that going on. So yeah, we try to do, we've got a great community here, so we try to support it as much as we can, and they support us. We're very lucky.
Oh, that's fantastic. I know, I mean, obviously you're preaching to the converted with regards to a love of reading, because we are the library. That's what we're there for as well. It's all about sharing that love of books. And it is, as you say, that personal knowledge as well, isn't it? About sharing titles that you think your readers might really like next.
Yes, absolutely. So if people come in and say, oh, well, you know, I don't know what I'm looking for, and I go, well, what have you read? And they'll point to some things on the tables, and I'll go, oh, well, if you've read that, then you'll love this, or don't touch this. And, you know, we have that little bit of pros and cons, and it's great. I learn more from them than they ever learn from me. We have very well-read customers. It's wonderful. So, yes, that's wonderful about working here and talking to people about books.
Fantastic. The great thing about books, you can always find something new, can't you? And always find something
for everyone.
And so let me ask you then, how's it been for you in lockdown? Obviously that's affected lots of people in different ways. We've had to move very online. How's it worked for you guys?
Yeah, so we carried on going during lockdown. We had to close the shop, obviously, but I just moved Operation Bookshop to my dining room table, and I put a sign up in the window, and I put lots on social media to contact me for book orders, and I was dropping books off all over the place, Berkshire, Buckinghamshire, Oxfordshire. I was driving around in my little car, emergency books. I thought it was an essential service, and then when some of the bigger suppliers reopened, we started doing other books that had just started to come out around the start of lockdown. If people were trying to get them, we could still get those ones that they were printed and available. So we were doing drop shipping service. We did that actually internationally. We did some in quite a lot in Luxembourg, Canada.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know, quite incredible. I was flabbergasted. The support was fab from the local community. So then, as soon as we could open in June, we had the backup. Full hours again. We've got lots of social distancing in place, like everybody is used to now. Yeah. So you have to wear a mask when you come in. You have to put hand sanitizer on if you want to browse the books. And we've also got this fun little traffic light system which the kids love outside. So if the shop is full, we put it on red and people wait, and then when it's on green, they know that they can come straight in. So yeah, I was trying to think of something that we could do to manage it.
Oh, no, that's brilliant. That sounds fantastic idea.
Yeah. So yeah, we've managed. We've just sort of like got on with it really. You have no other choice. And the best thing for us about it was that more people were reading, especially boys aged sort of 12 to 16. I think they all got bored eventually of PlayStations and what have you, and started reading books again. And I had their mothers phoning me up saying, oh, they've read everything by Percy Jackson and they've read all of the Alex Rider books. What next? So that was really exciting. Yeah.
That's brilliant. And it's lovely to hear, isn't it, that something good has come out of it, in the sense that reading has maybe picked up a little bit more, which is great. And so, talking about reading, obviously we need to have a look at the book that we're having a look at tonight, which is the absolutely brilliant The Mirror and the Light. So I guess really the first question is, when we talked to you about the short list of books, what was it about this one that drew you in? Why The Mirror and the Light?
Well, we had to wait 8 years from the last one. So obviously you have fabulous Warfall and Bring Up the Bodies, the first two in the series, and it's a trilogy and it's the final part. So, I mean, you know, it was a no-brainer really. After that length of time waiting, you were expecting something satisfying read, and I think she's delivered. It's, you know, it's quite a
absolutely
quite a stop there. So you know, it's fantastic. It's so well researched. Every detail is brought to life, and it's also, you know, the Tudor period is, it's an amazing period of, you know, if you think about it, just Henry VIII, we always think about just his wives, but there was so much other stuff going on. I mean, the guy, you know, had 6 wives, couldn't have very many children, desperate for a son, dispatched 2 of them, and the person that you sort of blame for getting rid of Anne Boleyn and dispatching his wife on, you know, Catherine of Aragon as well, really, was Thomas Cromwell. You know, he's not a very likeable character normally, as portrayed in history, but I think she does a fantastic job of changing your mind and drawing you into and putting a new light on this world that we think we know so well. But I think she paints a different story.
Yeah, I have to say I'd agree with you. And I also had read the first 2 and was eagerly anticipating the third. I actually revisited the first 2 as well before reading this one. So did a bit of an epic read of the Tudor period, and it really immersed myself in it, which was fantastic. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, like you. Loved the period, loved the book, thought it was absolutely brilliant. So I guess now that we've kind of talked about why you chose the book, can you give us, we talked about the fact it's predominantly Thomas Cromwell, obviously, but can you give us a little précis? So where are we after the last books when this starts, and where does this one take us?
It takes off exactly where it left off, and it's almost like, you know, a breath has happened and you're right back in there. At one minute, Anne Boleyn is missing with her cap before the blade is swung, and then the next thing you know, her ladies are there. I love that scene. I love the way it started, by the way. I thought the opening scene was breathtaking. Really knocked my socks off. So there we are with Thomas Cromwell. He's now at the zenith of his power, or almost at the zenith of his power, because he actually gets more titles and roles shortly after that. He's rising in the king's favour. He's the most powerful man after the king. I think the Duke of Norfolk might argue that he's next, but he's certainly up there. And we're now looking at the last section of his life, right up until his own end, and it's breathtaking.
I have to say, it's the detail in it is just phenomenal, isn't it? The research and the detail about sort of the minutiae of everyday life that really changes, as you said before, changes maybe your perceptions of this man from history that we only really knew before for sort of one small aspect.
Yes, absolutely. You know, he's the son of a blacksmith, and he came to be one of the most powerful men in England's history. And how did he do that? You know, this book reflects a lot. There's a lot of that going on in this book. And, you know, even now with social mobility as it is, it's difficult for someone to move stations, and he's constantly reminded of his class by his betters non-stop. You know, everybody looks down on him. They don't trust him, they dislike him, they're afraid of him, you know, often with good reason. And what they have to go back on is, well, you're just the son of a blacksmith, you know. Who do you think you are, sort of thing. And I like that about him. He was, you know, he was the underdog. He is called Crumb by his friends, you know, and I quite like that too, because it's such a humble nickname. And you know, he got there by working hard and being clever and being very good at lots of different things, and being King Henry VIII's right-hand man. And you know, ultimately he did regret getting rid of him, but we don't get to see that in this book. We just get to his own downfall, which, oh, the way that she writes it, because I think she writes mostly in first person, it's so here and now, and you can see it all coming all coming together.
Yeah.
And it's so disappointing as well, about the whole, you know, the reasons of why he has so many enemies and how they all group together. And he had no one backing him up. He had no great family. He couldn't call a rebellion. He didn't have his own private army. No one was going to come to his aid. He was really all on his own. And I think you sort of feel for him. You will change your mind if you've ever not liked him. And also, you know, people have said to me, oh, it's a very big book, and it's, you know, big heavy subject, it's really boring. And I'm like, it's not really. It's not intimidating. Don't be intimidated by it. It's completely accessible to absolutely everybody. She just writes so well. It's like a historical soap opera.
That's a great way of putting it, actually. Yeah, I think I'd agree with you. I think sometimes books like that can be a little bit daunting, but I found the minute you start to get, you get so invested in the characters, because her descriptive writing is so brilliant that you kind of really get invested in them, don't you? Want to follow through, so it becomes a lot easier than you think it's going to be to read, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And some parts of it are really funny as well. There's lots of light-hearted bits. You know, he's quite witty. I think this book, like I said earlier, I missed Anne Boleyn because she was just such a vibrant and incredible character, such a strong woman, at a time when it was possibly, you know, so difficult to be a strong woman, especially in her position. And I kind of missed her, that kind of like to and fro that they had between them. Because I think the next queens that come along are no match for Anne at all. We get up as far as the next Howard, Catherine, queen, but that's and I'm sure that it would have been a very short book had she written about her life, but we sort of like end there, so you get a couple of queens, and but none of them quite match up to her. So I missed that. I'd say that's the only sort of, but there's nothing that Hilary Mantel could have done about that.
No,
by that point she was gone.
that was already in there, wasn't it? Unfortunately, she couldn't change that part.
Indeed. I mean, there are lots of other characters, sort of, you know, who, like Lady Rochford, for instance, you know. So I think she's painted quite badly, and unfortunately for her, you know, she gets quite a difficult time in this book. But I just think everyone can have a go and read it and get stuck in, and they will love it.
Definitely, that's brilliant. And how do you think it compared to the other two, having read all three? Would it be your favourite, or, you know, were there others you like better?
I know you prefer Wolf Hall. I really liked it. Yeah. I mean, it's the first one, and it was quite explosive. It was quite amazing. I really liked Bring Up the Bodies. But I think this is probably my favourite, because it was just, I've been waiting for it for such a long time, and it's really satisfying. You know, it covers everything. She didn't leave anything out. She doesn't censor anything. You know, it's all quite gory and gruesome and fabulous and fantastic. You know, it's all there. She covered it all. So I found it, I was worried about it, because, you know, expectations are high and often a bit disappointing, but no, I thought it was amazing.
Oh, good to know it didn't disappoint. That's excellent. And how about, she writes, as we've said, so much rich diversity in her books as well. Which of the characters, I mean, I know you mentioned obviously Thomas Cromwell being called Crumb, but did you have an absolute favourite character in there? Is there someone you're particularly drawn to?
I like the people that worked with him. You got to know them quite well because they're in his house all the time. So there's Call Me Risley, who, you know, no one trusts him. They all think he's a spy for Gardner. They take the mickey out of him. So and he has a really interesting character development. And I think Cromwell, he relates quite a lot to him. You know, I think he sees himself as a young Risley. But I really like Christophe. His reliable Christophe, his French clerk, and then there's minor characters, and then Rafe. I love Rafe.
You sort of start talking, you think of more and more, don't you? Because there are so many wonderful ones.
There's Matthew, the little boy who he plays in another household, and he got him from Wolf Hall originally, and then he found him in the kitchen. I was like, "What are you doing here? You're not meant to be in here." He's getting scolded and beaten around the ears for something, and then he placed him in another household, and he's part of his little network of spies that he's got, informing him so he can keep up to date on everything. He really, if you think about it, don't know how he had time for sleeping. And then when he did sleep, he was just haunted by ghosts anyway. Absolutely. So why bother?
True, he definitely had. He was one of the world's greatest networkers, wasn't he? He definitely
absolutely had. Yes, he could teach us all a thing or two.
So, I mean, thank you so much for some of those insights. Absolutely brilliant book, as we know. So, I guess just rounding it up, what would you say to somebody if you were trying to sell them onto the read of the Wolf Hall trilogy and The Mirror and the Light, and in particular about being the shortlist? If you were putting in your bid for why maybe this should be the winner, what would you say?
I would say that it's a fantastic saga. It's so entertaining. It's so well written, and you'll feel like you've come away with an absolute education by the end of it without even realising at the time, because you're just reading an interesting story. But you're learning so much as well. I think everyone should read it. I don't think it's something that should ever be missed. I think all of the books that are in this year's shortlist are fantastic. But it's very difficult for anyone to stand up against something with this well researched, that's had this much work go into it. It's been a very long time coming. It's a difficult one to call, but as the competition is so good. But I think that Hilary Mantel she's just up there. I think everyone would agree that something this much work gone into it, and so well finely finished and tuned, deserves the recognition of everything that's gone into it before.
Absolutely, a stunning piece of writing. I completely agree with you. Chantal, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for reading the book for us. I know you were probably going to read it anyway, I know, being a lover of it, but thank you so much and for your insights. And thank you to everyone for watching. I just wanted to say, I hope you join us on the night for Women's Prize for Fiction, where we'll be doing a little précis of all the books together as well, and giving you the opportunity to vote and seeing if we can work out what our local winner would be before we find out the overall prize winner. So thank you very, very much, Chantal. Don't forget, if you've not been, please do go and see her at the little bookshop in Cookham, where they'll be desperate to see you and come in and talk to you about all those amazing titles that you can buy from them as well. So thank you so much, Chantal, and we'll see you all very soon. Bye-bye.
Love. Thank you. Thanks for having me.